right, welcome back. Professor Joyce, this is Economics 1001, and we are all the way up to Chapter 14. And this is a really challenging but very important chapter because we're going to talk about perfect competition. And remember, in our world, as I've talked about in lecture, there is this spectrum, and it goes from, let's say, on the left side is perfectly competitive markets, and on the far right is a monopoly. This has many firms, they are price takers. This has a single firm, it's a price maker. You know, Microsoft used to be close to here, or Google's close to here. And on the competitive side here, we're talking things like farmers, small farms who sell their wheat in a national market or international market. That's a highly competitive market. The real world is probably somewhere in between these two, and we're going to spend the next 4 chapters really looking at market structure as it applies to these boundaries from here on in. All right? So let's get Chapter 14 down, and let's begin with our quiz. I posted online these quizzes. Got 10 questions for you on perfect competition. I'm going to start with question number 1. So here we go. All right. It says, and I've drawn the table up here for you. So it says, a firm in a competitive market has the following cost structure. So here's its output going from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And here are its total cost. So when there's no output, it has total cost of 5, 10, 12, 15, 24, 40. Right? So this is a typical firm under competition, and your job is to figure out what? It says, if the market price is $16, this firm will do what? All right? If the market price is $16. So how do we analyze this? All you seemingly have is some output and some cost data, but actually we can do a lot of really good analysis with this basic data. As a primer, let me just come over here. I've drawn a little diagram here because I want you to, this is a tabular form, and I want you to see what the diagrammatic form of this particular problem looks like. Remember, we've been discussing in class that if you took a firm, the firm's output, we'll use little q for the firm's output, and the demand curve the firm sees in the world is this horizontal, perfectly elastic demand curve. Reminder, it's perfectly elastic because the firm is a price taker. It can sell as much as it wants at this price, but if it changes its price, if it raises the price, no one will buy its good. Why? Because there's so many firms selling this particular good, the buyers will immediately go to somebody else. This firm is too small to affect the market price, so they become what we call price takers. And that's really important because what happens is you then look at the firm's marginal cost curve, which I've drawn right here, and since the firm can't control price, it can only control how much it produces and at what cost. So when the firm then says, all right, we're going to produce right where marginal cost equals price, that's the point where profits are maximized. Okay? So MC equals MR equals P is point of profit maximization. And diagrammatically it looks like that. Because look what happens. If the firm were to go over here to produce this much right here, let's call it Q star. What that firm is doing is that we're saying this is the marginal cost of this particular unit of the good, all right? And yet its marginal revenue is equal to price. So if this is, for example, $10, and the marginal cost is $12, well, what you just did when you expanded output from QM to Q star is that extra good cost you $12 to make, and you only earn $10 in sales. That would make no sense. You would never produce at Q star. All right? Similarly, if you go back over here and you went to Q, we'll call it Q naught, for example, and you produced right at this level right here, well, this looks pretty good, right? Your marginal cost is below the price, which means you're making money. So in this case, if the price were $10 again, the marginal cost were $8 at this level of output, then the firm is making $2 above its marginal cost. Why not go there? Well, why stop there? In other words, the firm would continue to keep producing and selling all the way up until it just got to the point where the extra cost of producing the good is exactly equal to the price, which is the marginal revenue in this case. So this is diagrammatically what we've been talking about. This problem is asking you the same question, but in a tabular form. So now you have to say to yourself, so what information do I need to address this question? Well, clearly we need the marginal cost, right? Because we're going to set marginal cost equal to price, and they've given us price. So let's take our pen, and on your sheet you should create a curve like this. That's total cost. we're going to put marginal cost right here. And marginal cost is going to be determined from when you change output, how much does cost change? So when you go from 0 units to 1 units, our cost increased by $5. From 1 unit to 2 units, our cost increased by 2. From 2 to 3, our cost increased by 3. From 3 to 4 units, our cost increased by 9. And when you go from 4 to 5 units, the extra cost is now $16. All right? So now this is the marginal cost schedule, which should look something like this. We have a little dip and then up. It was higher, then it dipped down, and it goes back up again. So that's the marginal cost schedule. And the question is, how much will this firm produce? Well, the answer is that you're going to set marginal cost equal to price. We've given you the price is $16. So this firm's going to go right here. This is where $16, the price, the marginal revenue, is exactly equal to their marginal cost. This is where the firm will make the most money. This is where we'll predict they'll produce. And that starts you off. But we're not finished yet, because the problem gets a little more subtle than that. So look at the answers. It says produce 4 units of output in the short run and exit in the long run. Produce 4 units in the short run. Well, wait a minute. If I produce 4 units in the short run, that's 4 units I can sell at $16, okay? And this is my total cost, 24. So 16 times 4 is what? That's 64 minus 24. That's equal to $40 in profits. But if I go to 5 units, all right, I'm also going to have $40 in profits, and I'm going to have a higher level of output. So the firm is going to be driven basically to 5 units of output, all right, and not 4 units of output. So that one's wrong. If you go to B, it says produce 5 units of output in the short run and exit in the long run. Well, why would you exit in the long run? Because we know 5 units is the right answer. The firm's going to produce 5 units. But the question is, why would you exit? And this is an important point, all right? When you're producing nothing, all right, you have total cost of $5, okay? And remember when we were doing chapter 13, we were talking about this. This is telling you what your fixed costs are. Your fixed costs are $5. How do I know that? Because when I see 0 output and there's a cost involved, that's a fixed cost. Examples, your insurance, your rent, your other kinds of contracts that you enter into that are unaffected by how much you produce. That's a fixed cost. All right? So again, we're representing that at 0 output. When there's a cost, it's a fixed cost here. Everything else is going to, the other costs are going to vary with output, and that's what we've really been looking at with the marginal cost right here. Okay, so it says produce 5 units of output in the short run and exit in the long run. All right? Well, will this firm, is this firm going to produce at a price of $16? All right, the firm's going to produce 5 units. 5 times 16 is $80, minus our total cost is $40. We're making money. All right, so let's keep going. Let's go to part C. Produce 5 units of output in the short run and face competition from new entrants in the long run. And let me just read D. Shut down in the short run and exit in the long run. All right, so let's get rid of D. D's out. The firm is making money. The firm is making, they have sales of $80. They have total cost of $40. That cost includes the normal rate of return. So this firm is making above normal profits. They're making economic profits. All right? And what's important here is, in a very competitive market, this can't last. Other firms are going to jump into this market. And when they jump into the market, they're going to produce more goods. When they produce more goods, they're going to knock the price down. So in the short run, this firm can make economic profits. But it's not going to exit in the long run. What's going to happen is that in the long run, other firms are going to come in, compete with this firm because it's doing so well, making so much money, and that competition is going to force price down to an equilibrium. So, long story short, the answer to number 1 is C. Produce 5 units of output in the short run, face competition from new market entrants in the long run. In the long run, new firms come in to compete with you, and that will knock the price down. All right. That's the answer to number 1. Again, C. Why don't we stop here? We'll go to number 2.